All right, in the first poll since the damning special counsel report, 86% now think Joe Biden is too old to serve another 4 years. And even the mainstream media cannot ignore the concerns. The New York Times editorial board, this was unbelievable, it was eviscerating. He said, quote, his assurances, in other words, didn't work. He must do better. The stakes in this presidential election are too high. Adding this is a dark moment for the Biden presidency. By the way, they fear Donald Trump. Here to react, Fox News contributor Marc Thiessen. Mark, did you think this was as significant as most of us here in the building?
Oh my gosh, it confirmed everything that everybody's been worried about. Because think about this. Normally, that number that you just showed, that's up 10 points. It was a few weeks ago, it was 76%. So we're now at 86% of the country thinks he's too old. We're judging that based on his public appearances. What the special counsel did, we look at the public appearances and say to ourselves, well, my God, if he's this bad in public, what is he like behind closed doors? And the special counsel just lifted the veil and showed us what he's like behind closed doors. 5 hours of interviews. And he has diminished faculties and bad memory, and he's doing these interviews while he's managing the October 7th crisis. And right. he can't remember when he was vice president. He can't remember the dates of his service. He can't remember when his son died. This is a very diminished man who's a commander in chief.
By the way, I'm just reading through the report, and there's this guy for 30 years. Was haphazard with intelligence. He was rewriting for this top secret intelligence from sensitive meetings with President Obama in his own notebook and keeping the notebook. Come on, this is terrible judgment, let alone the diminished performance. So now the question is, do we release the tapes of the meeting, being that Robert Hur is getting smeared and he's out of control and that's not the way everyone remembered the meetings? So should we hear the tapes of what really went on in those interviews over the course of 2 days?
Well, the Democrats are saying in the White House are attacking Robert Hur and saying that this is inaccurate and this is partisan and all the rest of it. There's a simple way to find out. Let's see the tapes. Let's hear the president. Why don't you let all of us see what the president is like behind closed doors? Let all of us hear how he handles a 5-hour interview with the special counsel. But I think that if they did that, then he would have to step down the next day, because it's very clear this is not just a matter of is Joe Biden capable of serving another term. Is he capable of finishing his current term in office?
So this is some more of the column. He pushed back at the image of a crotchety grandpa. He came across like a crotchety grandpa. I'm well-meaning and I'm an elderly man and I know what the hell I'm doing, he barked. Biden is not just in a bubble, he's in bubble wrap. Cosseting and closeting Uncle Joe all the way to the end is not possible. So they wanted him just to be president and let his surrogate speak. But that cannot happen now. So, Mark, he's going to have to play. He's going to have to be in there. He's going to have to go on stage. He's going to have to do interviews. Or are they just going to hope that Donald Trump is unelectable?
Yeah, he doesn't have to, apparently, because he passed up the Super Bowl interview. I mean, so think about this. 113 million people tuned into the Super Bowl last year. And this year is probably more because of Taylor Swift, right? Even the president of the United States doesn't have access to an audience that big on a normal basis. I mean, the State of the Union is like 30, 40 million people. RFK Jr. paid $7 million to get 30 seconds access to that audience. And Joe Biden could have had it for free and he turned it down. Why do you turn that down? Because you're afraid the only thing worse than passing up that opportunity is crashing and burning in front of 113 million people. They didn't want to take the risk of putting him out there in what's one of the greatest opportunities for him to put out his message in an election. So they're clearly afraid of exposing him. So he's going to try and hide in the basement.
Right. One thing about Trump, he's not going to hide. He's going to talk a lot. Marc Thiessen, I know. Thanks so much.
Maybe he should.
Right. That's up for debate. I look forward to your next column in the Washington Post, and I'll talk to you on radio. Marc Thiessen, thank you.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.